So anytime you start a diet, of course, it's never going to be easy, but you certainly don't need to make it harder than it needs to be. And I want to give you some strategies today that you can use that can help make things easier. And understand, oftentimes it just seems more difficult than it actually is. We have this tendency to just make things sound so much harder than they are in reality. So as I go through the different strategies you can take, keep an open mind, and hopefully some of these strategies will help. Now, one of the things I find to be the most helpful to make your diet easy is to plan ahead as much as possible. Now, in this instance, I am referring to when you're tracking your intake, and I'm not saying you have to track intake to get results. I do think it's an extremely valuable tool that can really help, but even if you're not tracking, this can still be helpful. But if you are tracking, what I recommend doing is go in the night before and just plug in what you want to eat the next day. And what this does is not only does it set you up for success, so you have a plan the next day, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it. A lot of times the biggest struggle is you get busy and you're not sure what to do, so you just kind of do whatever. Well, if you have the plan set in place, now that burden is off your shoulders and you already know what to do. But besides that, especially if you're inexperienced, there's a really good teaching component to this, because as you go in and you plug in food and you do this until everything lines up with your numbers, well, this helps you kind of see what's in the different foods you eat, see what portion sizes do, how your calories and protein and things like that can change based on what you're eating. And while this can seem tedious at first, understand everything in life that you're new to is tedious at first. You're never good at anything in the beginning stages, but as you become more experienced and do it longer, it becomes much easier to the point where it literally is only just a few minutes out of your day to track, but you have to build that knowledge base first. The analogy I often use is if you were to try to pick up a guitar and play for the first time, you're going to be terrible at it. You're not going to know what to do, but as you practice and keep doing it, you get better and better. Tracking is no different. But even if you're not tracking, you can still plan your meals for the next day, and it's still going to help set you up for success. And the problem is, until you learn more, it's going to be hard to be intuitive because you have no clue what's in the food you eat. So if you're just trying to wing it with no clue, it just doesn't usually go well. So taking the time to plan in advance can be super helpful. Now you may be wondering, okay, that's great, but how much am I supposed to eat, dude? And I'm like, okay, that's not for this video. I have plenty of videos to cover this. I'll link one at the end, maybe put one in the description. But for this video, I want to keep it to things you can do to make things simpler. And another thing you can do to simplify things is to do things like meal prep, batch cooking, especially protein sources. This is a big struggle for a lot of people, but protein is just so beneficial. And it's one of the things I have the hardest time getting people to do is eat more protein. So even if you're not prepping your entire meals, you can still batch cook big sources of protein. So for instance, you can make a week's worth of chicken breast and you can cook it in different ways. Maybe you're going to bake it one time. Maybe you're going to grill it another time. Maybe you'll put it in the Instant Pot and shred it up so you can mix different sauces in it. But having that available so you don't have to cook it every single day can make your life so much simpler. And while it takes a little more time to do this work up front, it's actually going to save you more time throughout the course of the week because you're only doing it one time instead of several times. And then of course, yeah, you can take it a step further and make it meal prep where you're batch cooking different meals. Maybe you cook a big thing of rice with it and different vegetables or whatever you're going to eat, and you weigh it all out, put it in containers, shove it in the fridge, and then it's available to just grab and easily eat and not have to worry about things, especially when you get really busy and you're getting pulled in every direction. It can be so easy to just grab something convenient, and of course the convenient foods are usually not the best options for helping you stay on your plan, and this way you've already got that and don't have to worry about it. And that's why I do like repeatable meals. Even if you're not batch cooking it necessarily all together or meal prepping, if you know what you're going to eat every single day, then again there's less to think about and worry about. Now, is it magic? Do you have to do this? No, and of course you'll probably get bored with it and you can always switch things up. And of course we have to think about sustainability. I'll touch on that in a minute. But for instance, for like myself, I've been eating basically the same lunch for about as many years as I can remember now. I eat chicken with a side of either like rice or quinoa or some sort of carb like that. And I usually eat asparagus with it and throw chia seeds in my rice. And I just eat it every day because I still like it. It doesn't bother me. And there's no thinking about what should I do today. It's just on automatic. And then my other meals, those are the ones that change. And the nice thing too with repeatable meals is you can usually, in whatever tracking app you use, whether it's MyFitnessPal or whatever else, you can save your meals. So each day you eat it, you can just hit that meal and it just plugs it into your tracker and you don't have to do it all individually. But of course you can get burned out on these things, and I'm definitely not saying don't enjoy your diet at all, never have anything good. In fact, that's one of the biggest mistakes you might be making is you're looking at foods as either good or bad and you're trying to just white knuckle it and just kind of like only eat clean all the time and never let yourself enjoy anything you like, and you just end up rebelling against it and going crazy because you can't sustain that. So go ahead and plant some treats into your days. You can do it every day if you want, especially if you're tracking. It makes it much easier to account for it. You can just plug that food into your day, plan the rest of your food around that, and enjoy yourself some treats so that you don't feel like you're just miserable and can't enjoy anything ever. Speaking of white knuckling it, another thing I recommend is allowing yourself to take some diet breaks sometimes, where you allow some extra calories, eating around maintenance for maybe a week or two, and just enjoying some extra calories, giving yourself both a mental and physical break from things. A lot of times this allows you to feel better, mentally enjoy more food, get more energy. Possible there may be some metabolic benefits. I just covered this. I'm not going to get into that in this video. But one of the things that may be killing you is feeling like you just have to keep going and never stop, and you don't want to delay your results, so you never take any breaks and you just keep going hard until you get run to the ground and can't take it anymore and end up rebelling against it. Another thing that could be a huge help is getting yourself a coach, not only for knowing what to do and you have that extra accountability, but also for the psychological component, having someone who can be objective with you, getting out of your own head, and this way you can't stop yourself from doing the things that you know you should do because you get too emotional. The coach can help with that, and I would love to help you. If you've been thinking about signing up, now is a great time to do it. There's a link in the card up here or in the description below where you can fill out this application, and I can help you finally get where you want to be. Which, speaking of the mental benefit, obviously the mental side of things is extremely important. You hear me talk about this all the time, and one of the best things you can do to help make your diet easier is to make sure you get on board with what you're doing mentally. What I mean by that is stop wishing you didn't have to do it. Stop wishing that things were different. Stop doing it because you feel like you should, even though you don't want to. You need to be excited about the process, about getting the results and making changes. Without that excitement, it's so hard to stick to the plan because you're just not mentally in it. And if you're always fighting against reality, if you're always FOMOing into every single opportunity you have to go off plan, it's just going to be a miserable process, and that's going to make things way harder. Whereas if you stop worrying about everything, worrying about how things might go, talking yourself out of everything, and just fully commit to following the plan, not only are you going to probably get better results now, but the excitement level is going to be so much higher. Because I promise, if you wish you didn't have to do it, not only is it going to be way harder, but it's unlikely you're going to get anywhere. All right, with all that being said, like I mentioned, I do have videos about how much to eat if you're unsure about how to find your maintenance calories, how to make adjustments through plateaus, things like that. So make sure you check out this top video next. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in that other video.